going on, guys? Bengal again here, coming back at you with another video. And today, as you can see from the stuff going on above my head, I am streaming live on Twitch. Make sure to follow me on Twitch. The link is in the description. And via Twitter, if you follow me on Twitter, also the link is in the description. I tweeted out 500 likes, and I'll record and post a mock draft right after the Bills and Patriots game, or the Bills game, we'll just say. Patriots didn't really come to play. And then someone replied with, if we get 1,000, will you add a second round? I said, sure. Got over 1,000 likes, and here we are. 2-round NFL mock draft. A lot has changed. This order, for the most part, is correct on Draft Network. Some of the picks, for whatever reason, are not in the correct order if the team has the same record. They're not factoring in strength of schedule, and that is kind of annoying. But this is what we got to work with. Jags at number 1. Hit that subscribe button if you're new, by the way. I have some shout-outs, but they're all for me, so you're already here. Might as well hit that subscribe button completely free. And shout out to anyone who subscribes on Twitch. I appreciate you, but I will get to you at the end of the video. Trevor Lawrence at number 1. Clear-cut, obvious choice. This is a lock. The Jets can't get the number 1 pick. The Dolphins can't via the Texans. No one else can get the number 1 overall pick. It is locked for the Jaguars unless they were to trade out. It's got to be Trevor Lawrence. He's the best player in the draft. This is a no-brainer. But what becomes a little bit more difficult is what the Jets do at number 2. You can't get Trevor Lawrence anymore. So do you go for one of the quarterbacks? Justin Fields, Zach Wilson. I don't think Trey Lance is really in play here. I think Wilson did too much to bulk up his stock, boost that up. And then Justin Fields, I think, has a lot of, we'll call it prospect fatigue is a term, where a guy has been ranked so highly for so long that you try and pick out flaws and say they're overrated. Like, it happened with Chase Young a ton last year, and that was absolutely ridiculous. Now, Justin Fields does have more flaws to his game as a quarterback than Chase Young did as an edge rusher, but Fields is still a really, really good player. That being said, because there is a possibility that Wilson played his way up into the number 2 spot, and for the sake of mixing it up, we do a lot of mock drafts on the channel. They can't all be the exact same. We have to consider different scenarios, and there is a scenario where not only did the Jets not take a quarterback named Justin Fields, could go Penei Sewell, could trade down. No trades in this draft. But we're going to say Zach Wilson did enough to solidify his status as the second best quarterback in this class, and they take one there at number 2. Tough pick here for the Dolphins, because even though you drafted Austin Jackson in the first round, and even though you have Robert Hunt, who's at the top of the second round, who's played great at right tackle on the other side, Robert Hunt is someone with guard flexibility. You could take Penei Sewell here, move Austin Jackson to right tackle if you want him to be Tua's blindside protector. But I think more likely you play Penei Sewell as a blindside protector on that right side. So this could be a Penei Sewell spot. But also, I think the bigger need is someone that can be a true difference maker, a true number 1 for Tua Tagovailoa and his development. And they just don't have that. Devontae Parker's a good player. Jamar Chase could be an elite player. And we've seen receivers go very, very high in the past. And recently, I think, again, with the recency bias of, receivers aren't as valuable, you can find them down the board. Receivers go very high all the time. You look at someone that wasn't even a tremendous overall prospect like Corey Davis, who was a pretty good player, don't get me wrong, at Western Michigan, but was no Jamar Chase. And he went number 5 in the draft. Jamar Chase could definitely go top 3 as we get to the Falcons at number 4. And we're going to keep the Georgia boy in Georgia. Justin Fields, of course, high school quarterback, 5-star, number 1 player in the nation, right? Went to the University of Georgia, and then some weird things happened there. Apparently some racial stuff, and he ended up going to Ohio State. He's been a really good player, and I think with the Falcons, with the opportunity to not keep him local, I think that plays into it a little bit. An area where he would be comfortable, right, around supporting friends and family and all that. But also, this is a guy who can sit underneath Matt Ryan, learn the playbook for a year. They're going to have a new quarterback, or a new head coach. He wants his new quarterback in there. Matt Ryan's older. You're still paying him a lot of money next year. But what new head coach could take their franchise quarterback top 5 and choose to go a different direction? I get that their defense is really, really poor, but with a new head coach coming in, with the opportunity to take his own guy and have him learn the system for a year, I think it's too much not to take. Eagles at 5. This is a tough one because the best player on the board is Penei Sewell, and the Eagles kind of have a need at offensive tackle. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand that Lane Johnson's a great player at right tackle. Andre Dillard really hasn't done a whole lot of developing. And Jordan Mailata, probably not a franchise left tackle. But the Bengals do have this pick in real life, so we could just trade it down at this point. But we're gonna do it as is. I'm gonna say at this point the Eagles decide to go receiver, and they take someone that is up for a Heisman Trophy in Devontae Smith. He's been awesome at Bama. Really, really good player. And the Eagles need a pure difference maker, a separator. I know cornerback is a super, super big need as well. I think Patrick Surtain could be in play here, even Caleb Farley as high as number 5 overall, as we go with Penei Sewell to the Bengals at number 6. Lions at number 7. This is a really tough spot because they need a receiver really, really badly. You look at Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay, both might not be on the team next year. You look at maybe quarterback. Matt Stafford has been involved in trade rumors, mostly perpetuated by the media. I'm not really sure if he'll be traded or not. And then also you look at Micah Parsons as maybe the best player on the board right now to fix their terrible defense. What do you do here if you're Detroit? I mean, you have a really, really high pick in the draft. Don't really know when you might be picking this high again. So we're going to say they take a chance at a quarterback, and that's going to be Trey Lance, potential QB of the future. I know it's wild. We've seen now 4 quarterbacks go inside the top 7, but I think it's pretty clear that the Lions just kind of have to start over, and I think Stafford could be on the move. They need their QB of the future, and even if they keep Stafford for another year or two or whatever it would be, Trey Lance could very, very well be in play at this point to get their QB of the future. And I get it's not their biggest need, but I think Stafford could very well be on his way out. Giants at number 8. I think this would be in between 2 players at this point, both on the defensive side of the ball. The Giants are so weak at linebacker. Micah Parsons is here, and they really, really badly need an edge rusher. And Gregory Rousseau is on the board. I'm a big Rousseau guy. He's a little bit raw at the moment, but is a tremendously talented player, offers great length at edge, and he can make plays that a lot of other edge rushers simply wouldn't be able to make because of that size and that length. He's a super athlete, really, really good player. But I think someone with versatility to maybe do both, to play off the ball and rush off the edge, would be perfect in the Giants 3-4 led by Patrick Graham. We're going Micah Parsons at 8. Just in front of the Panthers, who would probably consider taking him at number 9. And at number 9, I know their defense is weak. I understand that. But you have a surefire difference maker for the offense available in Kyle Pitts, who is a mismatch not only in line playing tight end, but also out wide. DBs cannot cover him. Linebackers cannot cover him. Kyle Pitts, who has developed tremendously as a route runner, who offers tremendous size and speed, and has developed also his hands to an incredible level. He really struggled with a lot of drops a year ago. And he definitely cut down on the drops. They didn't completely go away, but Pitts has evolved so much as a player. He's worthy of a top 10 selection at tight end. He is a difference maker because you don't really just consider him a tight end. This is a guy who can play out wide and be really effective. He is a difference maker and a weapon on offense that can be utilized in a bunch of different ways. You talk about Christian McCaffrey being a Swiss Army knife for the Carolina Panthers. Kyle Pitts can be that as well, but in a completely different way as a big-bodied receiver. Broncos at number 10. I think this is a no-brainer with the way the board has worked out. Gregory Rousseau is the pick. Von Miller could be cut, and they could save a lot of money. Big injury for him. They need someone on the other side of Chubb, and even with his age as well, Von Miller probably can be expected to regress, especially coming off a big injury, worth a lot of money. Broncos need a lot of help on the edge. Of course, they don't get their QB of the future here because the top 4 are off the board in this scenario. So they get a really talented edge rusher. Cowboys at 11. I don't think they would hesitate in this scenario either. I think you go Patrick Surtain. Lockdown CB. Maybe you like what you have in Trayvon Diggs, but they're going to reunite the Alabama corners from a year ago in real life as I record this, and they get Surtain, Trayvon Diggs back together. Here's the thing. Awuzie is a free agent. Anthony Brown is a decent player, but Surtain can be a lockdown number 1. And I think that'd be a very good addition to this Cowboys team that really does need a lot. They need a lot of things. Could be offensive line. I think there's more value down the board. Could be interior defensive line. Could be edge. Could even be linebacker. I mean, the Cowboys just really do need so much. Could even be quarterback if they don't retain Dak. So Surtain's my guy there at 11. We get the Chargers at number 12. I think cornerback's definitely in play, but you talk about only one tackle being off the board right now. We're going to go Sam Cosmi, future blindside protector for Justin Herbert. Vikings at number 13. It's been another tough pick for me because I've given them offensive line so much, but their defense is so bad. Their defense is so bad, but maybe the best player available for them is Rashaan Slater, someone who's been a lockdown tackle at Northwestern the past couple years, who has inside flexibility. Due to his arm length, probably profiles better on the inside. And they get a versatile guy that can do a whole lot. Vikings look to improve the offensive line at 13. 49ers at 14. Another tough spot because maybe you go quarterback here if one of these top 4 QBs is available, but they're not. So I think you have to look to the defensive side of the ball. Their secondary has been a disaster. I think that Richard Sherman is on his way out of San Francisco. I like the way Jason Verrett's played, but he's an injury machine. So I think you go with the best available corner, and that, of course, would be Caleb Farley. Patriots at 15. Watch them tonight. They looked awful. They were really, really bad, and they need a linebacker super, super bad, even with Dante Hightower coming back after he's out of this opted-out season. They need a difference maker on the offensive side of the ball, too. Man, tough call. Tough call. Maybe you go just best player available. That would be Jalen Waddle, someone that can take the top off the defense and be a surefire difference maker for a team that really hasn't had one of those in a while at receiver. Jalen Waddle at 15 to the Patriots. Raiders at 16. It's Kwity Paye, I think, all day here. He's been really, really good for Michigan pretty much his entire time there. So you look at the Raiders, whose defense is terrible as well. I think it's too early to take a safety. So you go edge at 16. It's too much value right there with Kwity Paye at 16. For the Cardinals, they're in a similar situation where their defense is their biggest need by about a mile. So we're going defense. We're helping them out. I think J.C. Horn, talk about someone that can play man coverage about as well as any other corner in the draft. Definitely in play. And why hesitate with it? Let's go. Let's upgrade their secondary. Patrick Peterson, not the player he used to be. They need a boundary corner. And J.C. Horn could be that. Well, I mean, is a boundary guy, but could be that for the Cardinals. 18. We got the Indianapolis Colts. Could be another quarterback spot. And I think it probably would be at this point. In front of Washington football team, in front of the Bears, Kyle Trask, who honestly might be better off going back to play another season at Florida, has been amazing this year. There are questions about his mobility. But, I mean, Phillip Rivers has looked pretty decent for the Colts this year, and he's not exactly the most mobile guy in the world, especially at this age. I like Kyle Trask there at 18. Washington football team cut Dwayne Haskins today as I record this. And what do they do at number 19? The top 5 QBs are off the board. This is not a Mac Jones spot. It's not a Desmond Ridder spot. You can't go QB here if you're Washington football team at 19 based on the top 5 QBs going off the board. I think you have to take the best offensive player available. Their defense is great. They need help on offense so badly. And while the offensive line is a big need and Christian Darasaw is available, I think they need a difference maker at receiver, someone that can separate and be, a surefire difference maker. And you look at the receivers available, there are a lot of good ones. I would ignore the rankings on the side because I think a lot of these guys could go first round. I really do. But who is the best fit alongside Terry McLaurin? And I like Logan Thomas at tight end. He's developed pretty nicely. Who does Washington football team go with here? I think Terrace Marshall is probably the best fit along with Terry McLaurin. You talk about a 6'3" big body receiver that can be used in the red zone, that has very good speed, was a part of that great LSU receiving core a year ago with Jamar Chase, with Justin Jefferson. Marshall's a really good player. Bears at number 20. Pretty easy pick. I think this is Christian Darasaw all day. One of the best tackles in the draft. Their offensive line is abysmal, especially a tackle. Their interior, not so bad. Tackle is really, really awful in my opinion. Jags at number 21. Of course, went with Trevor Lawrence at number 1 overall. And what do you do if you're the Jaguars now? Their secondary is pretty poor. I think this could be a spot where you see the first safety go. But with Cam Robinson being a free agent, not sure if the Jags are going to bring him back. You might go with the best left tackle available. And I think that might be Liam Eichenberg at that point. So we're going to give the Jaguars Liam Eichenberg at 21. You got the Browns at 22. I've been giving them a linebacker for a long time now, and I don't think that much has changed. They have Myles Garrett. Olivier Vernon's played really well on the edge so far. Cornerback's decent. When everybody's healthy, the Browns are a solid team, but linebacker is certainly a weakness. I'm almost tempted to go Zaven Collins at 22. I'm going to. Versatile linebacker that doesn't just have to play off the ball. He can come off the edge as well. And you think about someone that could be utilized almost like Jannard Avery, former Brown. I think Collins certainly has a higher ceiling and is definitely better off the ball. But someone that can come off the edge as well. And that could definitely be a very good fit for the Browns there. And then Dolphins at 23. I don't think they would hesitate. I think they go Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah with the next pick. Athleticism, coverage ability at linebacker. Helps out the Dolphins defense in a big way. Offense with their first pick, defense with their second. Ravens at 24. Edge is tempting, but every time I watch the Ravens play, I cannot help but notice how terrible their interior is after Marshall Yonder retired on that offensive line. Wyatt Davis is available. I think he's a perfect fit there at 24 for the Ravens. At 25, we got the Bucs. It's another tough call because Chris Godwin's a free agent. Maybe they don't bring him back. Antonio Brown might not be back with the Bucs next year. So you have Mike Evans and what else? Scotty Miller? It's not great. Tyler Johnson? Not great right now. Could go running back, but I like Rojo. As long as he stays healthy and doesn't fumble. He's like 2 or 3 fumbles this year. You just got to not put the ball on the ground. That's pretty much what it comes down to. But with Shaq Barrett also being a free agent, this is a tough call. They don't really have anyone next to Vita Vea. Maybe Joseph Osai. I think you probably have to. Just with Shaq Barrett potentially getting big money elsewhere, and maybe saying Chris Godwin will stay in Tampa Bay, Joseph Osai is a solid pick. And then I'm going to go with Jalen Phillips. Back-to-back edge players after seeing back-to-back LBs, back-to-back offensive tackles. Jalen Phillips is really good. Pass rusher out of Miami. He's been incredible. Started out at UCLA. Kind of had a weird transfer to Miami. And then has been unreal this year. I believe he's ranked top 10 in the nation for sacks. But it's more to an edge rusher than just sacks. He's pressured the QB at a high rate. He's been really, really good. Jalen Phillips could even go a lot higher than this. It's just really 1 year of production that kind of holds him back. Jets at 27. They need help on defense so badly, but they also need help on offense. What do you value more? Protecting Trevor Lawrence, giving Trevor Lawrence a weapon, or helping out the weak defense? I might give him Shaun Wade. He was an All-American this year. I don't know how. He really is a slot corner that really didn't look great on the boundary. Eric Stokes is a boundary corner. I'm a big fan of Eric Stokes. I think he's probably going to be a top 15 player in the draft for me when I come out with my big board. So I guess 27 is pretty excellent value there. Bills at 28. Now, this is a team that could use a slot corner. Matt Milano's a free agent at linebacker. It's a big need as well. But who do you go with? Dylan Moses? Could be. They could use something on the edge too, man. Mario Addison is not the move. Trent Murphy really isn't it. Jerry Hughes is old. I've talked myself into an edge rusher, and it's a talented class. I'm going to go Azeez Ojulari. Big fan of him. Back-to-back Georgia players go. And the Bills improve that defense. And I'll be honest, watching them against the Patriots, they limited points But that's more on the Patriots than anyone else. I don't think the Bills defense looked exceptional tonight as I record this. Saints at 29. I don't think this is Mac Jones either. It's a tough call for me. It really is. Trey Hendrickson's a free agent. Edge could be a need. Well, it is. Starting to see a lot of those guys go off the board at this range. It's a tough call. I think I gave them Rondale Moore my last mock draft just because of his versatility. I think that Sean Payton would really love to utilize a player like that. But maybe you even prefer Kadarius Toney after what he's done this year. I think their offense is too good. And if it's not an upgrade over Drew Brees, I think you have to go defense. Nick Bolton's been very solid. But I think the athleticism of Dylan Moses is too much to turn down. His potential really is sky high. Steelers at 30. Their defense is great. We got to go offense, especially with Alejandro Villanueva being a free agent. I'm going Jalen Mayfield. They just won't have a left tackle if Villanueva leaves. I mean, that's just the case. They will not have a left tackle. And Jalen Mayfield could come in, be their starting left tackle right away. Packers at 31. They need a difference maker at receiver, man. So badly. But their defense is the worst part of this team. I am going with the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year in Daveon Nixon. Help out that defensive interior. Stop the run. Daveon Nixon is a really, really good player. I can see a lot of D tackles going before this, but I don't think anyone's particularly stood out this year other than Daveon Nixon. I think everyone's really hurt their stock more than that. Marvin Wilson, I thought could have been a top 10 player in the draft. He was a non-factor for Florida State this year. Daveon Nixon looks like the best D tackle in the class right now. So I'm giving him to the Packers at 31. Chiefs at 32. Another tough call because you have guys leaving in free agency potentially. In DeMarcus Robinson. Sammy Watkins isn't... Yeah, I want to call him a non-factor, but I feel like it's almost a little bit too rude. Their offensive line needs a lot of help too. But with Laurent Duvernay-Tardif coming back, I'm not really sure right guard's a need. I like Kalichio Semele at left guard, not sure it's a need. So it's either best center in the class, which is either Creed Humphrey or Josh Myers, or you go defense. And I think they could use a thumper up the middle. I'm going Nick Bolton. I think he'd be a fine pairing with the athleticism of Willie Gay playing outside linebacker. As he continues to develop, we're going Nick Bolton, who's a pretty good athlete, by the way, as well. But he really is a good thumper up the middle. Jaguars at 33. We've taken Liam Eichenberg. We've taken Trevor Lawrence. But that defense needs a lot of help still. This could be best defensive player available. This could be Pat Freiermuth at the top of the second round as well. I'm actually going to give him a safety. They're so weak. I'm going to give him Javon Holland at 33. Jets at 34. Their best edge rusher might be Jordan Jenkins. That's just not going to do. A great thing about a 2-round mock draft as well is that I get to really put a light on some of these players that I've liked the entire year and even last year that I just, for one reason or another, don't consider to be a first-round player at this point. A lot of that could be media hype. But I'm a huge Patrick Jones fan. I think he's incredible. Has 9 sacks this year. I think he's a really, really good player. I like Patrick Jones as potentially a first-round guy, and the Jets cannot have Jordan Jenkins be their best edge. That's a disaster. That's really, really bad. Dolphins at 35. We've gone Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. We've gone Jamar Chase. I think you go running back here, and I think you reunite Najee Harris with his quarterback at Bama and Tua Tagovailoa. You talk about a huge running back. Big, powerful, but also catches the ball so fluidly out of the backfield. His hands are incredible, and he could be borderline running back 1. I think he probably is. I think it's 1A, 1B with he and Travis Etienne. I'm a big Najee Harris guy, and for the Dolphins that could use an upgrade at running back, I know there are a lot of Myles Gaskins guys out there, But I just don't think Myles Gaskin can offer you what Najee Harris can. I don't think Salvin Ahmed can offer you what Najee Harris can. And we go running back. Falcons at 36. Has to be defense. There's no question about it. And there's still some really, really good defensive players available. If we're to go edge here, I think Jason Owe is probably the move here. You talk about just a ton of athleticism off the edge. Penn State has been really, really solid, or has showcased great traits. I think that's better to say. Really, really decent player. Could easily see him being a first rounder because of his athletic traits. As we get to the Eagles at 37, their first pick was Devontae Smith. They need corner. They need corner so bad. Shaun Wade's available. This is a guy who, again, is best suited for the slot, and they need a boundary guy. Here's an interesting one. Asante Samuel. A little bit small, but has all the tools to play on the outside. Asante Samuel, Jr. to the Eagles. That's a fun storyline. Bengals back at 38. Took an offensive tackle earlier. Wide receiver is an interesting one because they do have T. Higgins, who's proved to be quite good. He's been great as a rookie. You have Tyler Boyd, who's a really, really good slot option. You have Auden Tate, who I think is a good 4 as a red zone threat. A.J. Green is not really even worth mentioning at this point. I don't really think you need receiver so much. I'm going to double up on offensive line help for Joe Burrow. He can't get injured again. He can't. You need to protect him. And Elijah Vera Tucker, who's played tackle at USC, who has guard flexibility, is a versatile guy that I think a team like the Bengals would covet, right? You talk about Billy Price being a versatile interior offensive lineman, center, guard. You know, they like their versatility, and what team doesn't? Vera Tucker with tackle and interior offensive line flexibility. Protect Joe Burrow. I'm double dipping on offensive linemen. At 39, we get the Lions back on the board. We're going receiver. Rashad Bateman's still available, and that is the pick for Detroit. My team, the Giants, back at 40. We went Micah Parsons earlier. I think receiver is a very big need as well, so I'm not really going to leave here. And I like the ability of Amon-Ra St. Brown a lot. I think he separates at a pretty good level, can still go up and high point the football. Despite not being a huge receiver, he does have good size, 6'1", but he can go up and get it. I like him a lot. I think the Giants need someone who can actually separate at the next level because as much as I like Darius Slayton, cannot really separate. Sterling Shepard doesn't really separate. Golden Tate doesn't separate anymore. He's good after the catch, but the Giants need an actual weapon at receiver, and I think Amon-Ra St. Brown could be that. At 41, we have the Panthers. Went with a tight end at number 9 earlier. We got to go defense here. Got to go defense. Now, could that be linebacker? Yeah. There are some decent ones available. These top 2, I like quite a bit. McGrone has sky-high potential. Jabril Cox, I don't want to say he's reached his ceiling because that's unfair, but he's a solid cover guy, good athlete. I think would offer quite a bit. I most think cornerback's a bigger need for them. And we'll go someone who can play in the slot. Shaun Wade. His fall stops, but I think this is about his range right now. Broncos at 42. This could be a cornerback as well. Could see back-to-back CBs go. Michael Ojemudia has played well. He has. But this could be a QB spot. I'll give him Mac Jones. Potential Heisman winner. Going at the top of the second round. Listen, I don't love Mac Jones as a prospect, and he's been around great players at Alabama, but he has played well this year, individually. And you're going to a team that does have some weapons. Even if Tim Patrick leaves in free agency, you have KJ Hamler, could be a really good slot guy. You have Jerry Jeudy, who is an elite separator, could be good in the slot as well. He's got to work on catching the football, and you have Cortland Sutton coming back. It's not like he won't have weapons to work with. If you want to talk about guys and how they relate to the Alabama receivers that Mac Jones has had, you talk about KJ Hamler potentially being like your Jalen Waddle, just in terms of deep speed, You talk about Cortland Sutton maybe being that Devontae Smith, that guy that can go up and high point the football. And of course, Mac Jones does have experience throwing to Jerry Jeudy. So Mac Jones reunites with Jeudy, and Mac Jones headed to the Broncos. We got the Cowboys at 43. This has got to be interior defensive line for me. I think Jordan Davis is probably the best one on the board. I like Jay Tufele. He could be the move here as well. Offers a surprising amount of pass rush for someone of his size. But Jordan Davis is also similarly athletic in that way. So we're going to help out the Cowboys, boost up their interior. Chargers at 44. Took a tackle earlier. I think this has to be a cornerback. You look at not only the age and the contract situation of guys like Chris Harris, Casey Hayward. There's not a whole ton of that after this. So we are going to go cornerback. I think I'll give him Tyson Campbell. Near state champion sprinter in Florida. Really, really good player. Back-to-back Georgia guys. Campbell goes to the Chargers. Maybe isn't the best scheme fit in the world there, which is something I should have looked at a bit more. But certainly a solid player. At 45, we got the Jaguars. And this will be Pat Freiermuth. Help out the offense. I mean, you got to give Trevor Lawrence some weapons. And so far with our picks, we have given him protection and now a potential weapon at tight end. The Jags have nothing at tight end. Freiermuth is a really, really good player. So it's pretty good value at 45. Get the 49ers at 46. I think this could be a quarterback spot. But their interior is so bad on their offensive line. Could be a center. Two really good ones available. I'd almost prefer to give them a guard, though, and Trey Smith. Landon Dickerson's a good player as well. I'm not really sure they can go wrong. Let's give him Creed Humphrey. Now, I'm not sure how well he profiles as a guard. Has played center his entire time at Oklahoma, to my knowledge. But maybe he can be their starting center. He doesn't have to transition to guard. At 47, we have the Patriots. Went receiver earlier, Jalen Waddle. But if you look at Joe Tooney, potentially leaving, was franchise tagged this year. So you do have a hole opening up at left guard. Trey Smith would fill that. But they need a tight end really, really badly. Devin Asiasi's terrible. Like, really, really bad. Kind of wonder what they were doing with that. Brevin Jordan offers you a ton of athleticism and a weapon for, I guess, Cam Newton is going to be their QB next year. At 48, you got the Raiders. Went edge earlier in the form of Kwity Paye. Their defense is still really bad. We're going safety. I think Richard LeCount is someone that fits this team really, really well. Someone that can play over the top as almost a pure deep safety. I think is a fine pairing with Jonathan Abram. And LeCount offers a lot of athleticism, coming from a prestigious school, smart player, and that's exactly what Mike Mayock, John Gruden are being looking for as a double dip on defense with their first two picks. 49, we have the Cardinals. You know, I almost think this could be a tight end. I think Dan Arnold's a good player. If there were better tight ends available at this point, I think maybe they would consider Brevin Jordan. If Pat Freiermuth is available, maybe they do consider Pat Freiermuth. But with Chandler Jones getting up there in age, with Hassan Reddick being an impending free agent, there's not much on the edge. And this is going to be where Hamilcar Rashed goes. Again, a lot of athleticism. That's a trend with modern-day edge rushers. He definitely fits the bill. Colts at 50. Took a quarterback earlier. Kyle Trask was available at 18. Pulled the trigger. And now it's time to go with protection in the form of Alex Leatherwood. Anthony Costanzo is going into the final year of his deal next year. Is older. I think he's 33, 34 years old. So tackle will be a position of need. And you get a future stud to go next to Quentin Nelson. At 51, we got Washington football team. Took a receiver earlier in the form of Terrace Marshall Jr. This could be protection. Jackson Carman out of Clemson will be the guy. Bears at 52. Earlier went with Christian Darasaw. Is this where they take a QB? I think it could be. Desmond Ridder. will be the move. Has had a great season for Cincinnati and is a huge reason they've been so successful. And it's pretty clear that even though maybe the Bears are trying to talk themselves into Mitch Trubisky's not the guy. Nick Foles, clearly not the guy. Ritter, maybe they take a shot at him. Rams for their first pick of the draft. This has been an interesting team to watch this year because they have, in my opinion, exceeded expectations. Andrew Whitworth is, 39 years old? We're going to go left tackle. And Dylan Raydon's out of North Dakota State. Has been a solid player. I think he's a 3-year starter. And he's been solid. Watched him a lot when I was watching Trey Lance. And, of course, you do have to account for the level of competition that he would be going up against. It's a bit different for a quarterback because that's more about can they go through progressions? Can they hit the right read? What's their ball placement look like? And that's less dependent on talent. About maybe opposing DBs. Makes the reads easier, but doesn't make the throws much easier because it's still about ball placement. Because it's not even just hitting the receiver who's open. It's about hitting them in the right spot. And, Raydon is going to be going up against worse caliber edge rushers. That's a little bit easier to determine that, okay, the level of competition's worse. Maybe a little bit tougher to evaluate. He'll be someone that's interesting to watch at the Senior Bowl. I think he got invited. I think he's a senior. Yeah, redshirt. So he should be going to the Senior Bowl. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes up against some of the other top senior edge rushers in this draft class. Browns at 54. I don't think quarterback's a need at all. I think receiver could be. I like Donovan Peoples-Jones. I like a healthy Odell. I think Jarvis Landry's a solid complimentary guy. I almost am talking myself into a receiver at this point. I think Rashard Higgins is a free agent. Could use a third edge rusher, though. Could use IDL. Larry Ogunjobi's going to be a free agent pretty soon. I think Sheldon Richardson is as well. Maybe we go D-tackle here. Let's go someone with great potential in Marvin Wilson at 54. Dolphins at 55. We got running back in Najee Harris. We got receiver in Jamar Chase. Got Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in linebacker. I think the defense still needs improvement. We're going safety. Trayvon Moehrig will be my guy here. He's looked great for TCU. There was a conversation before this year happened about, who's really the best safety at TCU? Moehrig was excellent last year, but maybe you have higher potential with Ardarius Washington. Washington has not played great. Thought maybe he was a LaMarcus Joyner type. Has not been great this year. Trayvon Moehrig has continued his high play, and even though I like Brandon Jones at safety, I do. I think Moehrig would be a very good addition to that secondary. At 56, we got the Ravens, went interior offensive line earlier. They need a receiver badly, someone that can separate, keep going back to that. And I think Rondale Moore is pretty good value at this spot at 56. You almost worry about him maybe being another Hollywood Brown, but Hollywood Brown just doesn't really get open. He's great after the catch. Rondale Moore can get open. He can be utilized in a bunch of different ways. He helps build that track team with a lot of speed that the Ravens have. Lamar Jackson. Hollywood Brown, if he can develop, could be quite good. But Rondale Moore adds a ton of speed to that team. Really, really solid addition to the Ravens, who need receiver. They need edge with Judon potentially leaving. Got the Bucs at 57. Went edge with them. Joseph Osai, I believe. Gave them Joseph Osai earlier. I think offensive line could certainly be a need here, but we are going to go receiver. And based off of the receivers that they have, Mike Evans, big body. Chris Godwin, if he stays or if he goes, bigger body. I think you could use someone that's a real speed player. And again, maybe a gadget type player. And that's Kadarius Toney. Elite after the catch. Unbelievable. I think in Bruce Arians' offense could be used in a number of different ways. And someone that offers you almost running back receiver flexibility. This is someone who can get carries out of the backfield and is just lethal with the football in his hands. At 58, we got the Titans, and their defense needs help. I think we go IDL here. Corey Davis is a free agent, though, at receiver. So maybe they do like one of the receivers available. I'm a little bit lower on these guys. I think Olave is a good player. I like Tylan Wallace quite a bit, but he's coming off a big injury. I think Elijah Moore could be someone that goes up draft boards. Justin Ross is a bit of a question mark at this point. That's why I usually don't touch him. But J. Tufele, just too good a value to pass up. Seahawks at 59. Got to be defense. Got to be an edge rusher. Who's the best one available, in my opinion? It's either Roche or Rashad Weaver. Rashad Weaver's played really, really well for Pitt. We're going to reward him with a second-round selection to the Seahawks. At 60, we got the Buffalo Bills again. Got to be defense. I think cornerback's a good move. And I think Darian Kendrick actually fits pretty well. I think he'd be a solid boundary option on the other side of Tre'Davious White. He's a little bit raw, so I've had him drop a little bit. He's a little bit raw, but if he can develop, I think he could be a really, really good option on the other side of Tre'Davious White. Saints at 61. I think normally you'd like to go quarterback at some point, but they're just not available. So we're going to go receiver, and I think we're going to go Elijah Moore. I like Elijah Moore. And again, he's another player like Kadarius Toney, like Rondale Moore, that has great speed, can be used in a bunch of different ways, is very good after the catch, and could be a great pickup there for the Saints. Steelers at 62. We got in tackle in the case that Alejandro Villanueva leaves. I think their defense is real good, man. I don't think you have to go defense with their first pick, but I think we can go defense with this pick. Bud Dupree, impending free agent. We're going edge. We're going Quincy Roche out of Miami. Packers at 63. Helped out their defensive line with the first pick. We're not going to wait on receiver anymore, though. We are going to help him out. And I think Tylan Wallace would be a great pickup here, but I think the value of Olave is just too good to pass up. So Chris Olave hopefully helps out Aaron Rodgers a little bit as you get to the Chiefs at 64. It's another tough one because if the correct guys, if we want to say, if the right guys leave in free agency, receiver does become a big need. If you're not able to hold on to Kalichi Osemele, and depending on what Laurent Duvernay-Tardif decides to do, IOL is a big need. I'm going to go Trey Smith. Big, powerful guy to really set the tone for that offensive line. So that's my 2-round mock draft. Of course, I'm sure you disagree with every pick, but that's just off the top of the brain. 2 rounds. It's almost a rough ranking of where I could see these players going right now. I think a lot is going to change. Of course, the draft is always surprising, but make sure to hit that subscribe button for more mock drafts in the future. But that is going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.